Welcome to the Forever Classic Podcast, the show seeking enlightenment through video games, film, and other geek culture. I am Zach, and I'm here today, as always, with Alex and Joe.
Hello, I'm Joe.
And I'm Alex. How's it going, guys?
I'm sleepy, and I'm mad about it.
Same.
I hate sleep. Like, it's just, to me, it's a waste of time. Like, why would I be doing nothing when I could be doing something? There's too many,
I feel similarly.
too many video games and animes to watch and play, and I can't do that while I'm sleeping.
I think I'm so against sleep because I'm historically bad at it. I've never been good at sleeping.
Ah, dang it! I failed again.
I wake up every day like that. Like, today was supposed to be the day, and it's not, and I'm mad about it.
I slept for 8 hours and I still feel terrible. What was the
Yeah, I
point?
slept in a little bit the past couple days.
What was the point of all that sleep if it wasn't going to help things?
But like you said, there's video games to be played and,
It's true.
and geeky things to have a great time with. So today we're going to talk about 2023, things we're looking forward to, things we kind of put on our like goal chart.
Yeah, so I think that's the primary topic. But before we get into that, Alex, if someone were wanting to support us or one of our writers, what would be the best way for someone that might be so inclined to do that?
So there's a little support us tab on foreverclassicgames.com. Check that out, and it'll actually tell you a couple different options. You can either hit our Patreon, you can throw us a sub on Twitch, you can just throw us a freebie subscription over on YouTube or something, and kind of just follow our socials. That's a great way to kind of get our word out. And generally, if you do feel inclined to make a donation, I highly recommend that PayPal. And then most of our writers also have some sort of donation link attached. Depending on, how things are going, we might swap it up a bit. But regardless, doing direct donations is super appreciated because we keep everything ad-free. We're definitely dedicated to that moving forward, as always. And so it's been a fun 2022, and we're really looking forward to 2023. And we're already off to a super good start as far as like hits on the website.
Sweet.
It's true, our numbers have been looking really fun.
Mm-hmm. People really like Chained Echoes reviews, I guess. I don't know.
And Radiata stories.
Still.
Crisis Core.
Well, of course people were
Those are
going to
like
love
the
Crisis
three most
Core.
popular things.
Well, before we get rolling into the main topic of tonight, let's get out some of our willies and distractions. And what's one thing you're geeking out about right now, Zach?
I am currently geeking out about the new Magic the Gathering set coming out, Phyrexia All Will Be One, because the story is pretty exciting, and lots of very important characters are now Phyrexians.
When did Magic the Gathering sets get subtitles?
When they're big bads, typically.
Yeah, I think I've seen that a time or two.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of like D&D related cards kicking around right now.
Oh yeah, they had a really
one.
good Forgotten Realms set that was actually kind of fun.
I pulled an Icing Death actually from the Drit stories, and I'm like, that's pretty sick, and then put it in a box.
Nah, because I like the story. The story's been phenomenal. Like, trying to read back from the beginning and find all the little nooks and crannies of it. Been listening to a lot of it to and from work. But like, I don't know, would it upset you all to spoil some at you? And give a little spoiler tag for anybody who doesn't want to hear it, but they'll know it probably by the time this episode comes out because it'll be all live.
Sure, I mean, I'm looking at spoilers for the cards now, and some of the artwork is insane.
Yeah, the artwork's quite bonkers at the moment. So like, the old Phyrexian set where they took over Mirrodin, like when we were in college, because that's when I first started playing.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I remember that.
Now Mirrodin's new Phyrexia, of course, and it's like Elshnorn leads everybody. And in this set, they've been completing Planeswalkers into Phyrexians, which has been new, like stepping this direction. So they've completed, like Tamio the Moon Sage is a completed Phyrexian. Ajani got completed, and he's a Phyrexian. And now in this new set, the 5 new ones that are going to be completed are going to be Nahiri, Nissa, Luca, Vraska, and Jace.
Ooh.
Which,
Always love reading about Jace.
right? So this could either be cool or just the end of Jace finally, because he's been around for ages.
That'd be crazy. He's like the poster child of Magic, in my opinion.
He really is, and he's got a big important thing story-wise, because he's the living guild pact of Ravnica, and now he's a completed Phyrexian, and all the other people of the Gatewatch who sealed Emrakul in the Moon in the Return to Innistrad block are now all completed Phyrexians. Which,
Well, how about that?
spells lots of bad things for the future. That and the other one that gave Karn his spark, Vincer. Vincer's got a creepy ass card because he's a corpse puppet planeswalker, and he looks it's gory looking card, like flesh like rended, and like he's just like reanimated to be this Phyrexian thing. This whole set's little nuts. Lots of coming to a head, and I think there's another one after this, maybe because they come in threes.
I want to try to go to some card game stuff because that seems to be the only thing happening like close to me locally since I moved. And so there's a card shop, and they do, Warhammer and Magic and stuff. But this kind of leads into my little geeking thing. I might pop over there maybe tomorrow, the day we're recording this, and I might play some Digimon with some of those folks because there's a new Digimon card game. And I keep picking up random cards because they're cheap. And, if I'm at the grocery store, I'm like, I could use a quick little pack of cards to boost my mood. And so I grabbed a couple, and I'm going to pop over to the local meet to see how it's played and see if it's any good. And attached to that, I've found some of my old Digivices and like the virtual pets and stuff. And then I bought one of the more recent ones. So I got like a classic little Tokomon guy that poops, and I clean up his poop and send him after other Digimons. And I don't know, it's fun. It's just a neat little like distraction device, but it's a cool thing to just kind of have at your desk while you're, plugging away at spreadsheets or something.
True.
The Magic the Gathering talk reminded me of one of my, I guess, cooler posts that I made like on Reddit that got some attention. I came across an 8-foot statue at a thrift store here of Dakin Blackblade. So at the Mall of America, there used to be like a Dungeons and Dragons or like Wizards of the Coast store or something along those lines. And this statue was a part of that like store's display. After the store went over, it changed hands a few times and ended up in this random thrift store near where I live. And so I'm like, I have no idea what the heck this thing is. I'm going to take a picture and post it on Reddit. Someone will know what it is. I got an answer immediately. And then I started getting messages from like 6 different people asking me where it was at because they wanted to buy it because it was for sale for like $600. And there was a second statue too, but I don't remember what the name of that character was, but she was like in a crouching position about to like cast a spell. But yeah, apparently before I even answered people, they had already tracked down the thrift store because they found out I had mentioned that I was like in the northern suburbs of Minneapolis. So they just started calling every thrift store in the area until they found it. And then there was a bidding war between 2 people. And I think they ended up selling both statues for like nearly twice what their original asking price was because they were on the phone with one and then the other one called. And so it like started like a live bidding war over the phone over these statues. And the guy who ended up buying it sent me a couple of pictures of it set up in his game room or whatever. But yeah, it's like an 8-foot tall statue of this like guy with like a Dakin Blackblade or whatever. But he's a Magic the Gathering card, I guess. And it was just kind of an interesting thing to like you walk into this like small thrift store and there's an 8-foot tall guy there. But that's the
internet moves quick, man, when they see something they want.
That's the peak of my Magic the Gathering stuff. But my one geeky thing is the first episode of The Last of Us show premiered yesterday, and it is phenomenal. It's so well made. There are shots that are just straight up live action shots of those shots in the game. And so I feel like they're doing a really good job of knowing when to just keep what's been established, what's there, and just use that and draw from it. Not only as a reference to the game, when you see that shot, you're like, oh, I remember that shot. But just like, there isn't a better way to show that. Just use it. and then knowing when to mix things up and add more to the story. So, the lead up to the outbreak is a bit more fleshed out. You get a little bit more of Joel's daughter, Sarah, established. So you get a little bit more better idea of her character before, what happens. And then it leads into like 20 years later, and you get introduced to all these other characters. And the actress that they have playing Ellie just nails the attitude. There's a part where she kicks a food tray, and the way she kicks the food tray, and I'm like, yep, that's Ellie. Like, there's just like an attitude and a posture to it, and she just nails it. And so I have really high hopes for the rest of the season, based off of the first episode. But yeah, I'm excited to watch more. And my spouse Sam watched it with me, and is interested in watching more. And so this might be a great opportunity for me or for others to share this story that means so much to them with people who aren't necessarily interested in watching 15 hours of gameplay, but want to experience that story in a little bit more of a like just presentation format. And then one of the favorite tweets that I saw about it was, I'm really liking the Last of Us show, but they're missing the part where Joel dies 15 times trying to get through the first room.
Yeah, that really tickled me. Because that and Uncharted are two games that, like, for whatever reason, I just struggle with. Like, even in normal difficulty, it's just I get killed immediately. In Uncharted, I'm really bad at understanding, like, visual cues. So I'll, like, jump and miss the mark of where you're supposed to go, which that game is very railroaded, so I just fall off a cliff and die immediately. Because I missed the, like, jump by, like, an inch or something.
Because you were supposed to jump right first.
Right, and I'll be like, I'm going a little too far to the right, and
yeah,
old Nathan Drake takes a tumble.
I never really struggled playing through Uncharted, but I remember the first time playing through The Last of Us, it being just the gameplay was a struggle for me because I'm just not into stealth. I don't have the patience for it. And the last time I played it in preparation for part 2, I just threw it on easy, and I think, and the fact that I did that in The Last of Us, I think is what inspired me to do it with Metal Gear Solid 3. And that was just finally what it took for me to enjoy that game. So I think now that I've gotten past that barrier, just knowing when to slap it on easy and just enjoy the game for what it is, because who am I trying to impress? I'm playing the game for my own enjoyment. So
that's what I'm doing in God of War Ragnarok right now. I've put a little extra time into trying to like actually get through that, but I'm also kind of taking my time in various side quests. And so the other day I got stuck on a berserker or something, and I'm like, man, I'm just gonna swap it to easy. It's still hard, but I did it.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my thing. Is The Last of Us show real good? And I'm sure you've probably, by the time you've heard this, heard that before quite a bit because it's very good.
Not surprised.
But that leads into our main topic, which is what are we playing in 2023? We talked a lot about what we played in 2022. But we didn't really get a chance to look forward. And I'm curious what our goals are, what our anticipated games are, hardware that we're looking forward to maybe picking up this year. So, yeah. What are you guys looking at this year?
Steam Deck.
Hardware.
I want one.
Yeah,
I want one of them Steam Decks real bad, Joe.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat there. I've been eyeing one. Hopefully I can maybe pick one up this year, but it's also like one of those things.
Some stuff to get one.
It's also one of those things where like, do I really need another device? And the answer is still kind of yes.
Yes.
Because it fits a lot of different things. So what you're telling me is I can put Legend of Dragoon on the Steam Deck and simultaneously play Rowdy Out of Stories again, and then also play some indies that won't be on Switch for 4 years.
One thing to consider that listening to another podcast get played, Heather on that podcast brought her Steam Deck with on a flight that was going to be like 11 hours and fired up the Steam Deck, was going to play Persona 5 Royal, and the Wi-Fi on the plane wasn't good enough to establish the connection to prove that she owned the game, and it locked her out until she had connection again. And so
Ooh, that wouldn't be a problem with emulators, though.
but for like a device that's intention is portable,
Yeah, that's weird,
that
man.
hang up. I mean, Switch does the same thing if you're on a secondary device. But if
Yep.
you only got the one Steam Deck, if you've got a game downloaded to the device, isn't that proof enough that like there's got to be a better way to do that system, some sort of check or whatever, or like throw it into like it should ask, do you want to go into offline mode or whatever, no connection detected or something. But I've run into this issue on my laptop when I go into the cabin or whatever, and it's only, I think Steam and Epic are the big offenders here, where they want to make that internet connection to make sure that you own this game before they play it through their client. And I'm just like...
Which is weird because Steam has an offline mode.
Right. And once you establish that and then intentionally put it in offline mode, it's fine. Right. But it's just like a weird extra step. And it's one of those things where I'm just like... And people wonder why I still buy physical games. Because you know what? The Switch doesn't ask me anything when I pop a cartridge in.
Yep. That's true.
Which is also not necessarily true anymore, because I got DLC or extra content for a game and it did that check on a physical game I owned, and I was pretty upset about it. It was fine because I was at home, but I was just like, are you kidding me? That shouldn't happen anymore, because I'm pretty sure it's the one game I've traded in 10 years.
I think we just need to embrace retro, all get analog pockets, and only play the Game Boy library for the next 30 years.
No, you can do that.
I like the GBA, man. There's some great stuff in
I
there.
do too, but I don't want to limit myself to only Game Boy games.
Yeah, but what if you did? You would come out the other side so appreciative of the Game Boy.
I'm already appreciative of the Game Boy. I've got one right. I got a Game Boy right here.
Game Boy Nirvana.
And I've got a little thing right behind it that allows me to play Game Boy games on my TV, Alex. I spent money on that.
Yeah, well...
And I modded my Game Boy to have a backlit screen, so don't tell me about appreciating Game Boy. I'm very intimate with my Game Boy. I've been inside it.
Oh my.
I mean, hardware is definitely something that we're all kind of keen on. What are you trying to pick up there, Zach?
Some upgrades mainly. So like I need to upgrade my camera. Kind of sucks.
Same.
My GPU, I'm still rocking a 1050 Ti. It's still workhorsing, but it could be significantly better.
Yeah, I feel like it hit you really hard when you tried to play Elden Ring last year.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't let me play and stream. So it was way too much for that.
Fair enough.
So yeah, so GPU, better camera. I just got a solid state drive, and I have to sit down and like put the important things into my solid state drive.
That'll be huge.
Then get another tiny one and move my operating system over into it. Because I can put I have a daisy chain for 7 hard drives, so I can put all kinds of stuff in here. But yeah, so getting myself set up on solid state instead of HDD, and then trying to decide between doing something like either a Steam Deck, is that right? Stream Deck, or like a Tartarus. If I can get the Tartarus to do the same thing, I'd probably go with that. But just so that I can have a macro controller,
the little switches and stuff.
Yeah, just ways to make stuff easier, so that even doing this, I could just hit it and hit my mute button instead of the key combo on my keyboard. Shortcut stuff,
right
really.
on.
All those upgrades are going to be fun and lead into what I like about PC gaming, and leads into part of why I want a Steam Deck. I'm a tinkerer. I like to tinker. I tear stuff apart and look inside, and if I can upgrade it, I try to, and I'm just curious about all that stuff. And I've heard there's some really cool stuff you can do with the Steam Deck tinker-wise on the software and hardware front. And I'm just excited about those opportunities, particularly with things like everything on the Steam Deck being open source. So you can just download the STL files of the casing and 3D print your own cases. And you can custom order better joysticks and buttons, and everything is basically hot swappable within with some basic electronics and soldering equipment. I think that's a really cool thing about the Steam Deck. And there's just some games on PC that I think I would just probably play more if I could just hunker down on the couch and play instead.
Yep. there's so many little indies that we get pitched for reviews and stuff that I don't want to sit at my desk and play after being at my desk for 8 hours for work. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And not only that, but having a Steam Deck would, like, it would open up more reviews. So it's a work thing, right? It would also allow me to test games for Stride, because every now and again we're like, hey, is this code gonna work? And so we're like, all right, well, who has an Xbox Series X? Does this work for you? Great. Does it seem like it's okay? Great. We can send that to reviewers. So if I had a Steam Deck, that's just another tick on my box of, usefulness, so to speak. And if I'm at a con or something, I can take the Steam Deck and knock out another game for review or whatever. It just kind of gives you some more options. And the Switch is showing its age, man.
Yeah.
God.
Outside, I'm getting to a point where, like, especially this last year with even, like, Nintendo properties, it's like the first generation I can remember where the further they got into the console's lifespan, the worse they got at using the hardware.
Yep.
Because, like, I guess my biggest example is you look at, like, the end of the PS2 or the end of the PS3 era, where you had games like Kingdom Hearts 2 and, like, just looking incredible on those consoles, or, like, The Last of Us on the PS3. Like,
right.
Still competing with the next gen visually because of just how good they were getting at using that hardware. And I just don't get the same, like, vibes from the Switch developing. I don't know if it's because people are, like, swapping jobs all the time and are not sticking around with teams as long. I don't know any of that stuff. I'm not a developer, but it just, like,
right.
My long-term memory tells me that games at the end of a console life should be, like, some of the best running games on the system.
Absolutely. After that much time, they should have basically a formula perfected. Right. You've probably spent the better part of a decade building games.
Right.
And fixing optimizations for each different kind of scenario. So you should have, like, literally, like, a roadmap of, okay, this problem, this fix, this optimization, this makes it better.
And, like, if you're a big developer like Pokemon Company, you have, like, the biggest revenue stream, and this is your 4th or 5th game on this hardware, you should know how to develop for that hardware. And if, sure, they wanted to do this big open world experience, but by then maybe they should have known that they couldn't do it on that hardware, and they should have scaled it back so that they could deliver a really finished, polished product versus an ambitious, like, performance issued one.
I still can't wait to hear what exactly happened specifically with Pokemon Sword and Shield, because that is absolutely a mismanaged project. There's no doubt in my mind that that's what happened. Whether it was, upper management not giving the right budget, or not hiring enough people, or spreading people too thin.
It's also possible that COVID hit it way harder than they thought it would too. Like,
yep. Supply lines, all that stuff could affect it. Just getting people the right equipment to work on things. Like, say you've got 6 new visual designers, right? And they all need the best, like, hardware, and you can't get that hardware. Well, that's putting a strain on your group, right?
Right.
And so I think ultimately that a lot of what we're seeing comes down to just a bad storm of, like, availability of hardware and poor management. And that probably runs in tandem.
And I'll build on your point there, because it's a cool one, and it's a good one that I didn't really think about. But the companies that we've seen do awesome and thrive in it are the ones that are going to be the ones that are adaptable moving forward. Even if they're struggling right now, they're going to be awesome with whatever's thrown at them later. Because there's not been like a whole shitload of shining stars out of this, but they're the ones that came through it.
Well, you think about something like Xenoblade 3, even that game looks incredible. Dusk is damn near perfect on the Switch. Like, there's so many games that do really, really well performance-wise that aren't a first-party Nintendo property.
Right. And they, they run and look better. And the thing is I know people are stoked and excited about the next Zelda game.
Mm-hmm.
But with the number of issues, I hope Nintendo's, like, got their eye on that, because I don't know if the Switch can handle much more than what they put into Breath of the Wild originally.
I think you could still make the next Zelda on the Switch and make it good. The problem is do they want to put in that amount of effort, and are they? Because it could happen with what Pokemon is going through. It could release. It could run like shit. People will complain about it, but it's still sold hand over fist. So what difference does it make? They put out a patch in a few months, and maybe more people buy it. Like, I don't know. It's a really weird situation. This is one of the first years where I'm like, I'm less excited about like the advancements of hardware and some of these big flagship titles, and more about really specific software pieces. And I don't really care where I play them. I just want to play them in the best form that they're available in, whether that's PS5 or PC or what have you.
Right. Because you were mentioning that Final Fantasy Crisis Core, like...
It's not very good on Switch.
Right. Which is a little counter to what I originally saw reported, that some people were saying that, like, it's not as good of an experience, but it's like, definitely still playable and performs like...
It's fine.
But, you know,
it's
I guess it depends.
The problem with that game is all of the design philosophy is based around it being a PSP game, and there wasn't enough put into it to make it feel like an actual remake. It just feels like the same game with a different look to it almost. And it's bizarre sometimes. Like, and I think the reason I feel so weird playing it is because there's like that weird disconnect or a variable frame rate or something. And so I'll be like putting in inputs for moves, and then they'll happen really late, or it'll like queue up in a list, and so my dude will get knocked over, and then he'll stand up and then do a dodge roll. And I'm like, well, I did that seconds ago, but okay, Zach.
Sweet, thanks.
Meanwhile, I asked Marshall, my stepbrother, if the PS5 version was good, and he's like, I love it. I've already beat it. I'm like, okay, good to know. Don't play it on the Switch if you really want the best experience.
Interesting. Well, that, I think, pretty much covers our like hardware anticipation. What about games?
I mean, I really want the iiRcade to step into something a little new between now and the end of the year. I don't know if it will. There's an upgrade planned as far as like the actual tech involved, but I really want them to get like a cool flagship title.
Yeah, what do you think the hardware is like capable of, like in this space, in terms of like visual or performance? Like, do you know
I
sort of what's in it?
You can pull a lot out of it. There's a lot of indies that would absolutely work on the iiRcade. Like, there's no doubt in my mind Shredder's Revenge would work flawlessly on it with the right hands and the right time, right? The problem is I don't know if that market's very big, and it's an Ouroboros, right? Like, not enough people have the thing. There's not enough really like special great games on it, and it just kind of repeats.
Right.
If you could play Soul Calibur on this thing, or Street Fighter, or Primal Rage, or whatever, like some of these legacy titles that people will spend buku money on a dedicated unit, instead they can just add it as a less than $25 download. People would do it, but the problem is they're still like figuring out this like new thing that they're doing, and I think they're holding back a little bit, and they've even opened up some things into open source for things like accessories and such. And so I think the next iiRcade unit would be really special. This is the one that I have is mostly a glimpse into what it could be. Now it's just a matter of them doing the thing, right? So we'll see, but I really hope that out of all the arcade style units, this one has a lot of like casual level play potential for me. Like, I don't know if it would ever have the best version of a fighting game that people are competitive on the online sense, but maybe that new iteration of the hardware could be that. And if it is, people will get it.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate because I think its proprietary storefront holds it back.
Mm-hmm.
If they
Agreed.
If they opened it up a little bit to even accept, like, I don't know, Android, Google Play, just download some dumb mobile games on there, download the mobile version of some of the Final Fantasy games or Chrono Trigger or something.
Right. Yeah,
you can just play
there's a lot of weird little like nuances to the iiRcade that just need to be ironed out a little bit, and so I think they might be holding back as far as making some of these really big changes until the next piece comes out, so that can be a big marketing push or something. I mean, I'm just going on speculation.
Right.
Will
they be able to get to that next step without the support, though, if they're holding back, It's like, it's
everything
kind of
points that they're doing okay, so I don't know.
Okay, well, yeah, I'd be down for seeing more iterations of that and that expanding, because it is a cool idea. It's just a matter of getting it into people's hands in this market, because people want it easy. People want the bigger titles that their friends are playing and things like that. And unless you're part of kind of a niche community, probably not going to find that on the iiRcade.
Convenience and quality is everything. I'll take extra steps if it means it's the best version. However, if not, it's got to be extremely convenient.
Either of you looking at the PSVR 2?
I keep
Yes.
reading about it because it's something I'm interested in, but I also know that I don't have the room to play VR.
I have a PS5. I like the PSVR 2. I have a MetaQuest 2, and it's pretty cool. So, like a high def, super nice version of VR that just attaches to my PS5. I don't have to tinker. I just want to play the thing.
The thing that gets me though is it's almost the cost of another PlayStation 5 to do it, right?
Right, and the way that I would justify it is that it's a really high def on the like technical side of it. Like this thing is like people compare it to many of the Vive units and the Index or whatever, which are like $1,500 headsets.
Yeah, but then I heard that you can't, like, PlayStation VR, the original, those titles are not compatible.
That's what they said,
And
and I think this has a lot to do with the controllers, because the PS3 controller, the Move thing, is literally the same controller.
I forgot about that.
But it's just like one of those things where, like, someone has to be willing to start over on a library or be interested in jumping in now. And that's kind of unfortunate because I know for some people, they'll be like, well, I already have a PlayStation VR and there's some great games on there. I'm just going to keep using that one and then see if I can maybe get VR somewhere else. Because for what, $500 to $600, that you're not that far off from just getting the what is it, the Valve Index.
No, the Index is still pretty pricey.
It's like $1,000. Really, but if I'm already at $600, save up for another month or two and get the one that I can connect to my PC.
Sure. I mean, obviously, we're assuming you have a PC. I think if you're somebody who has a PS5 and you're like, I want exceptionally high quality.
Yeah,
VR games.
that's true. I don't like. I'm in a weird situation where I have a PC, a PS5, and a Switch. Like I'm invested in a lot of different platforms, but if I'm going to jump into VR, PC has got the most robust library and the most compatibility moving forward. If I got a Valve Index, I've suddenly got access to so much right off the bat. I don't have to wait for a library to grow. And as stuff comes out, I'll be able to get the newer stuff too. What I'm missing out on is things like the Horizon VR game.
Yeah, and that's where I think that the PSVR will ultimately, again, if you have something that people want to play that's super, super good and compelling, they'll get the hardware to play it, right? Like, that's why anybody picked up the Valve Index was probably to play Half-Life Alyx. And then, you play something along the way there, discover some things. But the Index, like the full kit that's got, the controllers, the headset, and then the like, sensor things, that's $1,000.
Right.
And you need a PC that'll run it.
Yeah,
which is kind of a big ask.
Which I do. Like I've got all that set up already. So to save up just a few $100s more and get the more robust system makes sense for me, I guess. But no, I understand what you're saying with like, for $1,000 you can get a PS5 and the PSVR 2 for like a little bit. It'd probably be closer to like $1,100 after tax and stuff.
It'll just
but
work.
It should. Right, you can just sort of sync them and be good. No, that's a really good point.
It's fascinating that VR is still around, and it's still fairly compelling in random little spurts.
Yeah.
And I've really wanted to play and do VR. I could not justify the price tag and the stuff.
Yeah.
For as little use as I'd get out of it. I was like, damn.
I have definitely taken the cheapest options when it comes to VR, but I've also, like, we had the PSVR for a while. And then I got the MetaQuest recently off a friend of mine who loaned it to me. And so, like, I've taken the, like, most consumer approach to this thing. But some of the coolest games I've played have been on those platforms.
What about, what are some games you guys are looking forward to this year?
Big stuff? Because for me, there's one title that really has a lot riding on it that I think is actually going to be great. And that's Street Fighter 6.
Oh, yeah,
Everything
that
we've
is
seen
this
so
year.
far is super cool. It looks like they're gonna launch an actual full video game for once, and it's got a lot of neat systems. It's got an art style now. It's like visually impressive. There's a lot of little community touches, like using those other commentator voices. They're definitely trying to put some effort into like regulating and understanding how tournaments work. I'm very excited for it. I want to get my hands on it as soon as possible, and hopefully it's one of those games I can really like see myself sinking a lot of time into. Like, I want a good ranking system. I want the rollback. I want it to work. I just want to get in, get some matches every day or two, and then like actually improve because I'm confident in the experience I'm playing.
Yeah, it really seems like with Street Fighter 6 that they really like took and learned from their sort of somewhat failure with 5. Like, it did not launch well.
I would say 5 is a failure. No doubt about it.
I think it may have like come into its own by the time it's ending.
Okay.
But
it's impressive to watch people who are really good at it.
They had to really like work hard at correcting what they, screwed up. And so it seems like with 6, they're taking like, oh, well, these are the things that people really loved about 4. And
right.
like, because I know 4 was a little bit more stylish in terms of its like presentation and things like that. And like with the popularity of like Persona 5 and some of those effects animations and things that's just to give it a little flair, they're really like taking into that. And then it being Capcom, well, the model that they use for Monster Hunter is immensely successful. And so they're like, well, what if we maybe take some of this and apply it to our fighting game franchise? And,
arguably the most recognizable fighting game franchise in history. Period.
Mortal Kombat might come close, maybe, but
I don't even think it comes close. And that's how big Street Fighter is. Like, Street Fighter is fighting games.
The chances are, if
just
people
want it to be good.
If people know a fighting game, they're going to either say Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat.
Sure.
That's kind of what I'm getting.
They might say either or, but either way, like, I think it's this or nothing. It's either Street Fighter 6 comes out and it's exactly what people are hoping for, feature rich. It's got all these different things. You can do the museum content where you can sit down and play like some of the older Street Fighters. There's just little things that are feasible, and like fans have done this, right? Like Fightcade exists. We can get rollback on all these games. Capcom has done this. They've released games with rollback that are patched and work really well and still keep that legacy content alive. And we just need that for Street Fighter. Like, Street Fighter needs a win.
Yeah, and this does look really promising that they are putting in a lot of that budget, a lot of that time, got a solid team behind it to really give it the best shot it can. But I think we're seeing like a resurgence in popularity of fighting games. Not that they ever fell out of popularity, but it just seems like it's growing in terms of fandom.
Outside of me like personally enjoying this particular game, this is the most interesting game of 2023 for me, because I see this wave of fighting game enthusiasm. I see these players doing incredible things, and I used to see it daily, right? Like, there is so much potential for this game outside of me just playing the game and having some fun with it with friends or on my own or online or what have you. Like, this is the sort of thing that can build communities, that can have these incredible moments, and that's what I'm excited about more than anything.
Yeah. Anything else on your roster for 2023 that you're planning on playing?
Big AAA stuff. I mean, as soon as a Resident Evil comes out, as soon as a Monster Hunter comes out, the new Final Fantasy 16 I'm all about. Like, nothing out of the ordinary for people who know me and what I'm into.
Does Final Fantasy 16 have a solidified release date, or does it just have a window?
Don't know, but I can find out for you.
Okay. Yeah. It's
apparently June 22nd, so summertime. And it's PS5 only, if I'm not mistaken. Specifically PS5.
Isn't that about the same time that Street Fighter 6 comes out?
I think it comes out a little earlier.
Street Fighter 6 is June-ish.
Somebody said it. Here's the release date announcement. June 2nd. So 20 days later, the big Final Fantasy comes out. So June's a great month for me.
You're going to have a busy June.
I'm digging it.
What about you, Zach? Anything catching your eye this year?
Hollow Knight Silksong. I've been waiting for it forever.
Give me that.
One of these years you'll get it right.
I believe they actually set their date for this year. Like we're going.
They said 2023.
For perspective, we have seen. I think we've seen the release of Hades and the announcement and release date of Hades 2 in the time that Silksong has been announced.
Yeah, absolutely. and I'm hoping it's huge for how long they've been going. I'm just real excited about it. I keep on rumors of Metal Gear, and I keep hearing and seeing more possible rumors of an announcement of remaking some of the original stuff, like Solid, because it hasn't had a remake. 2 doesn't really need one, but it would be cool, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
give
I
it.
think 3's the most likely, wouldn't you think, out of all of them?
Well, they technically they came as like the HD collection before, like
Sure,
God,
right.
well, like 15 years ago now.
It was on PS3 and 360.
Yeah, but so seeing those games like facelifted and updated would be awesome. Give them some modern controls would be a whole fucking interesting
If
thing.
that rumor floating around of Bluepoint doing Metal Gear Solid is accurate, that would be very exciting, I think.
Me too. It'd be really, really cool to see. Get more and more, just more stuff. Metal Gear's my favorite game.
Yep.
I'm not
Yeah, that's going to
sure-
be a difficult thing. Like, you'd have to trust Konami to do something with an IP they own that isn't
don't
just an
like.
anniversary collection.
To be fair, they're pretty solid anniversary collections.
That's true.
Like, I have speedrunner friends who are like, these are fine. They work great.
I love the Cowabunga collection.
Mhm.
So
I got an update that was actually kind of impressive.
yeah, they're good. They're like, whatever team they've got working on these is understanding what their audience wants out of a collection like this, which is really cool. They're not really doing anything like, what is it? Are they still the ones in charge of Silent Hill 2 remake? Or did they pass that
Technically,
along?
They're in collaboration with Bloober Team.
So they're not developing anything. They're just sort of like, hey, our logo is on it and we own it, but can you make this? Okay, I see. For me, this is going to be an interesting year. There are games that I'm extremely excited about, but I am taking a year off on new games. I'm reaching into the backlog catalog, as I'm fondly calling it.
There's an asterisk here.
There is an asterisk here. The one new game I will be playing is Baldur's Gate 3, which comes out, I think, August of 2023. But I pre-ordered it in 2022, so it doesn't count. But of
Not
course,
only that, but you're not buying games in 2023, correct?
just generally no. I'm not even
That
like...
doesn't mean that you can borrow things from people or you could get things for review. Like, how are you doing that? Because we don't always buy everything that we have.
Right. So, like, if someone decided, oh, Joe, I know you really like The Last of Us. Here's the PS5. Like, if they gifted me for my birthday The Last of Us remake on PS5, I'll probably play it. I'm not going to turn down that gift. It's a really thoughtful gift. But I am not spending money on games this year. Retro titles, sales,
Okay.
indie titles, new games, any of that. If there's
Yeah, plenty.
if we got a review copy of something and I have the time to play it and review in time for a review, then yeah, I'll go for it. But
This is how we're gonna get so many good retro podcasts out in 2023.
but generally speaking, it's the backlog catalog for me, because last year I was consistently buying new games and then barely touching them, firing them up to look at them and go, yep, they work, and then pittering away on some other game that I am taking too long to play. And so
are you also trying to finish games or just specifically not pick up new things?
will
'Cause
also
those
be
are different goals to me.
so I in the effort to finishing games I already own, I am not buying new games this year.
Okay.
And so, like,
Okay.
Hades 2, while I'm extremely stoked for that game, I'll probably wait for it to drop in price on a sale in 2024. Like,
Okay.
that's just where I'm at. And, maybe by then, I'll be able to take a look at and see how much money I saved doing this little experiment of mine. Like, oh, I waited a year to pick up The Last of Us remake. Now I picked it up for 40 instead of 70. Or whatever it may be.
Sure, yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, the one I'll be playing new for sure is Baldur's Gate 3. And that's because I pre-ordered it in 2022 because I wanted to get that collector's edition. And ultimately, I'm buying the collector's edition and it comes with the game. I really wanted that stuff that it came with.
Yeah.
And that's where it sits. But the games on my short list in the backlog catalog are like Persona 5 Royal. I picked that up on the Switch last year, and I really liked 4 last year. I played it for the first time, so I'm like 10 and a half, 11 hours into Persona 5 now. I've been playing it the last couple weeks. I already beat Celeste this year. That was incredible.
Yep.
And then moving forward, I want to finish my playthrough of Triangle Strategy. I'm going to play Tactics Ogre Reborn. I've never played that game before, so I'll be able to compare tactics games. I want to play more Valheim. That's a game that I started playing with my daughter and a couple of friends last year, and it's super fun. I also want to finish Tales of Arise, Death Stranding, Bayonetta 3. And then I'm going to start and play Live Alive. And I want to replay Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 in preparation for 3. And then as a comparison, play the Pathfinder Kingmaker CRPG that came out a couple years ago. And so I've got...
Okay.
Like, I've got a not... I don't have to look far for games that I want to play. I just need to, like...
You could get away with just playing what you mentioned and probably play those the entire year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Persona 5 is a 100-hour-plus game, and I know from what I've heard, Pathfinder Kingmaker is also 100-plus hours. And so
Sure.
I've got a lot of, like, long games to like, dig into this year, and hopefully I can, like, fit in some other things, like... Wrapping up Bayonetta 3 won't take long. I don't think Live Alive is super long.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm almost done with Triangle Strategy. It's just a matter of, like, going in. I think I'm halfway through Death Stranding. So just kind of going in and, you know, we'll see if maybe this is a good strategy for me to, like, maybe get out of the habit of just buying games because they're new and out and I'm excited about a new thing and then not touching them. So...
Seems like Zach's list is also fairly ambitious based on what I'm looking at here.
I mean... I got it all. I want to replay the Tomb Raider series, which, surprisingly, the early ones are not nearly as long as I thought they were, as I've been looking back on.
No, they're just kind of weird and hard.
Are you talking about, like, the original PlayStation trilogy or just, like, all of them?
You say trilogy? You mean the 9 PlayStation games?
Well, no, on the original
there was a bunch
PlayStation.
Of weird spin-off ones.
There were.
Yeah, on the original PlayStation, there's like 7 or 8.
There's
What?
so many. Yeah.
I only knew about the 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, there's like 1, 2, 3 Revelations, like Legends.
Dark Angel Revelations.
Oh, okay.
Some of those are PS2 games, to be fair, but regardless.
Yeah, they go a little wild, and then it goes into the new trilogy.
Do you have all these, or are you just gonna like pick them up on PC?
Yeah, I bought them on a Steam sale. I got the whole collection for like $10.
Sweet.
I feel like those can be a little wonky, so have fun.
We'll see what happens. I just vividly remember.
Unfortunately, most of my Tomb Raider experience is on the PlayStation 2 with Angel of Darkness, I think it's called. And that game is bad.
Yeah, it was not
a bad video game.
It's a bad video game, but the ragdoll physics are hilarious.
With these, Zach?
Oh yeah. I've played pretty much all of them but Angel of Darkness, and I've beat them all because it's when I first started playing games as a kid. My mom played with me a lot, and we always played Tetris, chess, and Tomb Raider, and Metal Gear.
Yeah, I think you've told this story on the show before. So, it's an old episode, but I'm pretty certain it's in there.
Yeah. So we just played a lot of Tomb Raider, and I just haven't come back to it in a long time. But I want to do that. I want to go. I want to play through all the Mega Man stuff again because I haven't never finished all of the Mega Man games.
Now, which ones we talking? We talking Mega Man NES style, like classic Mega Man? We talking Mega Man X? We talking Mega Man Battle Network?
Preferably, I want to go through X because that's the series I liked. OG was a little meh for me, but
X is definitely flashier.
I have the X collection on Switch, and like I was trying to learn the speedrun for X5. The Switch version was not only better than the PS1 version, but it was an adequate way to try to speedrun that game, in my opinion. So if you want to pick them up, I would highly recommend that collection. And
I have them.
They're really good.
They've just been sitting there. I haven't done anything with them yet because again, I want to update my stuff and then do some runs live and see how I do.
I bought the Zero collection and haven't touched it. I love those games though.
Yeah.
The pixel art's so cool.
Weirdly, I want to replay Legends, but I don't know where to get a copy of it that's not fucking expensive or just totally emulated.
I think if you have a PS3 or a Vita,
okay.
You can still buy it as a PS1 classic on the PS3 or PlayStation Vita store. But don't quote me on that. At any time, these things can just get removed. So
you might be ahead to find a PlayStation Classic and just install the all games mod to it. It's a really easy mod, I hear, and it works pretty well once you get it running.
Maybe. Yeah, just some stuff to tinker with here in a couple of months. Yeah,
the Legends games were so they've got a really cool art style. That's an iconic look.
Right. And I finally I sat down and again all my trips for work of a day where so far I just listen to stuff, and I've been listening as well to like the Mega Man storyline. They're all a big storyline. I thought Legends was just somehow off to the side, and it is not. It's where it gets really fucking bonkers.
Those games are so cool. Like, there's a lot of ideas that carry over. I think Mega Man borrows and lifts from, like, Astro Boy and such, because there's a lot of, like, genre tropes that Mega Man kind of leans on with, like, you know, the boy robot hero. And we see that in things like Star Wars Visions that's got the robot boy.
That was so cool. That was such a good episode.
Yeah. Uh-huh. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's something about some of that early, like, superhero robot thing. I don't know what you call that genre, but it's prevalent.
Mentioning Mega Man Legends reminds me of, like, back in, like, peak 3DS era. They were supposed to get a third game, and it just kept getting delayed, and then eventually just canned and canceled.
We're all very sad about it. Believe you me.
It's one of those things where, like, the 3DS had some really cool hardware in it and had some cool potential. Like, if they could have brought more, like, PlayStation style games to that hardware, like, original PS1 games would have looked sick on that screen, I think. Like, if you properly do it and get it going, I think it would be awesome. And, like, even playing the 3DS version of Xenoblade Chronicles, I was like, you could, based off of this, you could have ported Final Fantasy 12 to the 3DS, and it would have looked awesome. Like, it's just like...
Speaking of Final Fantasy, that's something that I want to sit down and do. So I'm like, I don't know, probably 75% of Final Fantasy 6, something I've been playing really kind of half-heartedly, off and on, the Pixel Remaster on Steam. If I had a Steam Deck, I'd already have it beat. But that is soon to be coming to consoles later this year. And so once that hits Switch, I kind of want to just go through all the core Final Fantasy titles, like 1 through 6. Let's get it. I don't know. I think that'd be a really fun experiment. Building off that, I think it'd be cool to do the same with Dragon Quest. I've only played, like, to completion, one Dragon Quest game, and it was the first one.
It's wild to me that Square Enix is the same company that just sort of released the Dragon Quest, I think, first 3 games or 4 games on the eShop, like $15 to just get, download and get. But then with the Final Fantasy ones, it's this whole pixel remaster thing. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure people would have just been happy with just having it easily accessible and buyable and downloadable to the Switch or the PC.
Yeah.
Or like,
I don't know. Well, so the pixel remasters are weird because they, like, went through and they meticulously made things look a little crisper. They changed up some scenes. The music was revamped, so, like, for what it is, this is kind of the definitive version. It just won't be everybody's favorite.
Yeah. I mean, not everyone has, like, Final Fantasy VI on Super Nintendo and a CRT to play it on.
Sure, and I prefer the GBA version so far, just because, you know, there's extra content, and I like the GBA, and people say the sound's bad, but I find it kind of charming.
I still need a copy of that game to finish my complete inbox. I have a box and a manual and no game.
One of these days we'll find it. I'm sure one of us will pick it up eventually.
Yeah, if you found it, well, not this year. Don't find it this year.
The other thing that I really want to do, and this kind of builds off something that we'll talk about just for a behind-the-scenes thing, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cross Justice League Turbo is a fan game that's very good. It's a mix of Justice League Super Nintendo game and Tournament Fighters, and the devs freaking nailed it. Like, it's super, super cool, and I think eventually they are going to put rollback in it. And we did a very successful stream at 2D Con that got a bunch of hits and some pretty fun competition, but I want to elevate that. And so here in Minnesota, I think that's going to be one of our core, like, stream games. And so I'm really interested in fan projects. So if folks have, like, a really good fighting game fan thing that you want to send us that we could run a tournament on or highlight or whatever, get in touch with us, because there's, like, a Naruto one on GameCube that's a hack that looks really cool. There's a Soul Calibur 2 hack coming soon. I love that stuff. I think it's really neat.
It is pretty cool. I tuned in for a little bit of it, and it just seems like a neat, like, thing. I'm surprised. I mean, maybe it's because it's, like, IPs and games that no one's really chasing or actively caring about. But it's amazing that they've, like, quote unquote, gotten away with it. Like,
from the development, like, histories and stuff I've watched about this game, they're also astounded that it's lasted this long. It's like the people that make a Mega Man Maker. They're still making updates, and I'm in their Discord, so every now and again I get a ping on my phone that's like, hey, Mega Man Maker version 3 is out or whatever. And
Sweet.
that's a piece of software that like dedicated people can sit down and play. I don't know. I like that sort of like fan age retro spins on things. It's always been super cool to me.
True.
Yeah.
Those guys were really cool to
I want
talk
more
to
of those.
too.
Which ones? The TMNT folks, or
We talked to the Mega Man Maker people, yeah.
No, we talked to a group called Super Retro Maker, and I don't know whatever happened to that project. I think it kind of floundered or something. I don't know. Hopefully it comes out.
Gotcha. I thought we talked to the Mega Man Maker people as well. It's been a long time though, but
It's been a while.
God, it's been since I
It's
moved
a cool
here.
project. I'm not very good at it, but you know, it's like any of the Maker games. I've said it once, I'll say it again. If they made mouse control on the Switch, I'd play way more Mario Maker 2.
Yeah.
But I hate making levels on the Switch. It's awful.
Yeah,
It's
the benefit
great
of the
on
Wii
the Wii
U,
U.
the benefit of the Wii U was that extra touchscreen. It's pretty great on there.
I love the Wii U, man. If I had my like full complete setup on what I do, I usually have the PS3 and the Wii U like rip roaring ready to go for streaming. And I don't have that hooked up here. I just have it in the living room. But man, the Wii U is a cool little device.
I like it.
It's like the Dreamcast of Nintendo.
I also really like the Wii U, but 2023 I think is looking pretty great for all three of us for lots of different reasons. And
I would say so.
I am
generally.
looking forward to experiencing new games through other people and hearing about them. I recently listened to a podcast where they were digging into Marvel Midnight Suns, which is that tactics Marvel game that came out at the end of last year. And I'm like, dang it, I should have picked it up at the end of the year because it just sounds so up my alley. But I'm going to have to wait for it to either be gifted or pick it up in 2024. But I think I'm really looking forward to dedicating myself to a goal of just playing through all these great games I own and have played a little bit or like looked at it. And
there's something to be said about focusing in on a game or a book or whatever and like seeing it through to the end.
well, I think there's a satisfaction is I've made a choice. So many times I look at my game shelf or look at buying a new game because I don't know what to play. Well, now I know. I'm limiting myself to my backlog catalog, and you know that's what I got. That's what I'm going to play, and you know maybe I'll pop in and finish a Vita game because I've got it sitting there and I haven't played it, or I've got a couple of GBA games I'm sitting on. Like I've got all this stuff that I haven't really touched, and I really should because I spent the money on it. And I want it to be more than just a collection. I want it to be played. I want it to be enjoyed. And I want to experiencing it beyond just owning it.
Now, the trick is being able to survive 2023 without buying games and also not buying Lego sets. Good luck to you.
Well, now I can afford more Lego sets because I'm not buying games.
That defeats the purpose of the thing.
No, I just don't want to buy new games because I own
okay.
games. It's not a money thing. It's I'm spending money on things I don't. I already have things I've spent money on that I haven't touched.
Sure.
A Lego kit I will
Enjoying
buy.
the things you buy.
Yeah, in experiencing things I spend money on. If I buy a Lego kit, I'm building it, and I've got that experience, and it's sitting on the shelf, and like. But there are video games I've dropped $60 on, and I installed it to the Switch, and that's it. So
I think I might be on a similar kick on accident. Like, I'm not going to buy any more books. I have so many books. I need to read a bunch.
well, you're
I'm
also
like 100
living with
pages
someone
away
that
from
owns a bunch of
finishing-
books too.
Also true. We read a lot. But I'm 100 pages away from finishing the third Dune book. I plan on eventually reading all 6, but I've got some other stuff I want to jump into. Some like really cool retro books too. Like I have all 5 of the Dark Sun books that they published in like the 90s or something.
Oh, weird.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's really fun. They're all in like pristine condition. I found them at a half price books. Nobody wants that stuff, but apparently I want that stuff.
But so yeah, that is 2023. Looking forward for the 3 of us and Forever Classic Games. Keep an eye out for our coverage. I might be doing some sort of thing related to tracking my my journey through my backlog in some form, maybe monthly updates or something along those lines.
Fun.
But I look forward to hearing what you guys are doing this year, and I'm looking forward to what we can bring. There's some really sick ideas kicking around behind the scenes that aren't ready to be announced yet, or we're still developing. But it's going to be
Me
a
and
great
Zach's
year.
got some really cool stuff. I think we'll be really busy, honestly, like especially with all of us now working full time. But I think we'll get through it. Yeah, bud.
Yeah, I think so.
It'll be good. So thank you so much for joining us on this conversation and caring at least a little bit about what we have to say about what's coming out in 2023 and what we're doing with it. And stay cool and play some games. Thank you, everybody.
Insert outro.
Wow. Just put that, just leave it as is.
And we're done.